Hello, everybody. We're back again today with a look at 1982 in movies. This is part of our new tandem videos. I'm here with Brian, Massey's Maine Entertainment. Check his channel out for the tandem video, which we do a perfect album of the same year, released the same day, 1982. We've already done that, and it'll be released in unison with this. I'm here with Doc as well. We've been going at this since 1965 as far as music, and starting in 1980, we decided to add movies to it and give everybody two videos to watch instead of one. So you can thank us for that later. Anyway, I'm taking a page out of Tom Petty for that.
That's right.
Anyway, what we do is we rank our 10 best albums or 10 favorite albums from each year, and also one worst album. It's always good to see where we land on these. A lot of these are favorites from when we first saw them. Others are newly acquired watches, so to speak. And you can go back and see what you missed the first time around and decide, hey, man, what was wrong with me? I didn't watch this back in 82 or whatever through the years, past 40 years, and you decided it's well worth being on the top 10 list. So a lot of fun to do, reminisce. I really enjoy this series. And there's going to be some heavy hitters that don't show up on the list. Maybe they don't translate well in 2022 as they did back in 82, 40 years ago. Whatever the reason, some people lean towards maybe a sci-fi preference or comedy or drama or whatever the case may be. And that's fine. That's what you should do. It's your list. So the order today is going to be Brian, Doc, and myself. Remember to like, subscribe, leave comments. We appreciate everybody that watches these videos, both the music and the movies. There's a loyal following out there that we really appreciate. Can't thank you enough. Love the comments too, especially. There's always something that we overlooked or forgot about that it's nice to add to what we've already discussed. So, guys, here we go. 1982. Brian, you're gonna kick this off. 10
All right.
on, and don't forget about your your worst before we get to the number one. This will be fun. I want to see what you guys have lined up for me today.
Okay. I usually at least rewatch a movie, or at least watch a movie that I haven't seen ever. This was the year that I watched 3 prior to this video. 2 I've never seen before. One people won't believe that I've never seen it before. And another one where I just rewatched it. It's a rather heavy movie, but I wanted to rewatch it to see, whether I still kind of held the test of time and whether I still felt that it was in high regard. So I'll wait till the end before I get to the one that was kind of left out here. But at number 10, I've got Poltergeist.
Yep.
I thought that for a horror movie, very well made, very scary in parts, even for me now. I mean, I really don't like watching any type of animated dolls or anything like that. I have this weird phobia about those things, and the little clown doll that they have in their room just kind of freaks me out quite a bit, especially when it's under the bed.
Yeah,
that movie still freaks me out a little bit to this day. So I put this right here. It stands the test of time. It's still a very good movie. Number 9, I've got a movie that I just watched for the first time ever, Year of Living Dangerously, with Mel Gibson and Sigourney Weaver. Watched it for the very first time. Really liked the movie. I really liked the pace of it. I really liked Linda Hunt's performance in it. Was absolutely top notch. I read a bunch of reviews afterwards where there was a lot of critics who didn't even realize that that was a woman who was playing that role. So not only was she playing a little person, but she was doing a little gender bending herself, and just absolutely knocked it out of the park. I mean, she's the highlight of the movie. Does a fantastic job. It's a good story. And I definitely want to include it in my top 10. Number 8 was one that I had rewatched. It's very heavy subject matter, with Sophie's Choice, with Meryl Streep and I'm trying to think of the gentleman's name anyway.
Kevin Kline.
He's Peter
McNichol.
Peter McNichol's in it as well.
Yeah.
Man, it's such a heavy subject matter. Watching it again, it got no easier for me. That anything that has to do with hurting kids or kids getting hurt, I have a really hard time with. There was that section of the movie where you find out what Sophie's choice really is, what's the burden that she carries around with her. That's just absolutely heartbreaking, and and it just kind of shows you that there are some things that you do, sometimes there are things that you do in life that you just can't come back from, and clearly this was one of those things that just followed her around and ate her up inside, and caused her to be in a destructive relationship on top of that. So, um, powerful movie. Maybe her. I don't know. I'd have to look at some of her other stuff. Maybe her best performance. I'm not sure. I'd have to look at some of her other stuff. But right now, I would say for sure. Number 7, I've got the King of Comedy. This was kind of the I would say it's the Joker before the Joker was ever known it was going to be the Joker. It's kind of the same premise. Robert De Niro's character wants to be popular, wants to be well known, and he tries to bully his way onto a television show, and things just go totally awry. And but it's a good movie. I think I even like Jerry Lewis's character in it. I think he did a fantastic job in it.
He did.
De Niro, a very different role for him, I think, and really he still did a very exceptional job with it. It was different to see him in a role like that. He did a great job. Number 6, I've got Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I think it's one of those movies that kind of speaks to Doc and I's generation for sure. We all knew somebody who was like the characters in this movie. We all knew a Spicoli, all the characters in it. And I think that there's not a guy our age, Doc, that doesn't, hear moving in stereo by the cars and doesn't think of Phoebe Cates at all. There's not a guy our age that thinks about, doesn't think about that at all. Maybe one of the most notorious scenes in movie history, I think, overall.
Pause.
Yeah, pause. What's that guy doing? That's great. Stands the test of time. It's still
funny, man.
Still funny. Number 5, I've got Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. I think what made this so successful was it was kind of based. It was based on a specific episode that was in the original series called Space Seed, that starred Ricardo Montalban. In which they at the end they punished him by sending him off on a planet to restart a population of a planet and on a planet that they thought was hospitable. And Wrath of Khan was basically finding out that something had happened to the sun at that particular system, and laid waste to the entire planet. And he lost everybody that he loved, mostly, especially his wife. And this is him seeking revenge on Captain Kirk. And I think it's because like Empire Strikes Back, when you start making it about relationships and about personal things and people, it doesn't matter that it's a sci-fi movie. It can stand the test of time when you do those things and not get wrapped up in special effects. Tell a story about people. And I think things always kind of work out. Number 4, I've got The Thing. Definitely one of the best horror movies of the time, because you just don't know where the enemy is. You don't know who the enemy is at any given moment. And if anybody's never seen it, they only see it for the first time. It's just constantly spinning you around at 180 degrees and just constantly keeping you off balance about who actually, is the alien. And even at the end, it kind of leaves it up in the air about whether or not, Kurt Russell's character or is David Keith's the other guy that's in it, right?
That's right.
Whether or not one of those two, are the actual the alien. It kind of leaves that all up in the air for you to decide as the viewer. And it's just a great horror movie, great special effects for the time. Excellent job. Number 3, I've got Gandhi. It's still a movie that I can watch. I know the pace is a little slow for a lot of people, but I still enjoy watching the movie. Great biopic film. If you want to see physical transformation of Ben Kingsley that he performed for this role, absolutely just great job by him. Not too much more to say about it, except that you can just rewatch it. Number 2, I've got The Verdict. This is probably maybe a lot of people would disagree with even having it two. Some people are going to have it at one. I consider it like maybe one of the top 5 courtroom dramas ever. So to even have it here, I think was kind of a big deal. I mean, it's a, you know, kind of a down and out alcoholic, a lawyer who's given a second chance to take on this medical malpractice suit that basically was given to him in a design fashion that they figured, you know, he would need it, and he would just take a huge settlement and just bail on his clients automatically at the first offer he got. But he doesn't do that, and he ends up you know, actually fighting it in court. And just when you think that, you know, everything's gone bad that could possibly go bad, doesn't seem like the judge is very cooperative or doesn't seem to like him very much, and they're suppressing evidence at every turn that they get. Ultimately, every time, you know, you see a good courtroom drama, most of the courtroom dramas will tell you, you know, it's your closing arguments that win the case. And if you make a good closing argument, you can still win. You can still sway a jury to go to your side. Newman did a great job in there. I know this kind of bounced around between directors for a while, and Robert Redford had his name attached to it. But I think all in all, it all worked out for the best having Newman at the helm. And number one for me, no, actually, I'll do my worst first here.
Yes.
Worst movie. I mean, I had like 7 movies I had jotted down, but this one here was absolutely just terrible. When you think of the premise, I got Zapped, starring Scott Baio. Now, it's so bad. One, you got Scott Baio in it. That's your first problem. The two is you're going to give this person enhanced mental abilities and telekinetic abilities, and the best he can do is try to lift up girls' skirts with it. I mean, that's really that's the best you can do with the powers that you're given. And really, just saying that that's what he does with the powers, that's giving him the benefit of the doubt. And that may be one of the most, you know, creative things that he does with those powers. And the movie's just horrible. It doesn't go anywhere after he gets the powers. It just kind of just grinds into this terrible relationship between him and his friend, and terrible relationship with him and his girlfriend. It's a blah movie that was just kind of like playing off of a trope that's existed 1,000 times in other, you know, sci-fi movies or comedy movies, like modern Problems, is it, with Chevy Chase or something like that?
Yeah.
Same kind of premise there. It was all the same. So that's my worst movie. My best movie for me, anyway, I have Blade Runner at number 1. Ridley Scott's you know, dystopian movie about replicants who are basically the slave force that human beings have created to work for them, to fight for them, to do all sorts of things. And a group of them go rogue and decide they want to come back and meet their maker, and try to find if they can extend their life expectancy, which is usually just a few years for replicants. They want more. They want to live longer. And Harrison Ford plays a Blade Runner who is basically a bounty hunter that works for the police department, who tracks down these people and retires them, which is a nice way to say that he kills them. Scored by Vangelis, who just passed away recently. Be sorely missed. An absolute fantastic job scoring that film. Definitely is, I put it in my top 10 movies of all time that I like to watch. Definitely the top of my list for best sci-fi and in my book of all time. So wow, that's what I got. Number 1.
Very, very good.
See where we went.
I don't know. We're gonna say, Rich, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think I have 4 of your 10 somewhere on my list.
Oh, okay. This will be my take on it. Go ahead, Brian.
No, I mean, I just want to mention that before somebody leaves a comment down below that they're going to say, well, you left Tootsie off. Well, no, that was the other movie that I had never seen before that I finally watched for the first time, and it just didn't crack the top 10. And I think it's because the supporting cast was underused. I thought the supporting cast was fantastic in the movie. I just didn't see enough of them. I wanted to see more Dabney Coleman. More Gina Davis. I wanted to, you know, more Sidney Pollack and more Bill Murray. I wanted to see more of that, and just wasn't any of that. So
even Charles Durning in it would have been more. It would have been fine.
Right? Yes. I mean, he did a great job in that movie.
Sure did.
And it's just it wasn't enough of that. So
well, I mean, I'll get into my list. This could be our shortest video ever, by the way, guys. I'll say this right now. That's the way I'll preface this before I get into my list. But I will say that about Tootsie. Yeah, I like Tootsie, and I'll say it didn't make my list either. And but man, that Jessica Lange, man, whew, did I have a crush on that one? And that,
Yeah.
holy cow!
My goodness.
Cutie.
Should I just start?
Yeah, go
Yeah.
for it, man.
Okay, so let me just get set up here. This will go very fast, I think. That's what I think, anyway. Number 10 is The Year of Living Dangerously for me. To Brian's point, yeah, it's a really, this is a really good story. And Mel Gibson's very good in this movie. Sigourney Weaver's very good in this movie. Linda Hunt is fantastic in this
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
I remember when it came out, man, I remember watching this maybe a couple of years after the fact. So whatever the case was, when it did come out on VHS or beta or whatever I had at the time, it stuck with me, man.
Yeah.
This movie's awesome. It probably didn't get enough praise in 82 that it should have, to be honest with you. I know Linda Hunt got the praise, but the movie's very good, man.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen this movie, you have to check it out. Number 9. It's kind of like the Joker, but it's called The King Comedy. So that's my number 9. So yeah, Jerry Lewis. It's kind of like the unsung guy in this movie, man. It's he's fantastic.
Yeah.
He's awesome. De Niro's De Niro, man. You know, we've come to, over the years, we know what to expect from De Niro, and we saw this via Godfather and Deer Hunter and everything else. The guy is one of the best actors ever.
Mm-hmm.
And he shows it in The King of Comedy because it's a different kind of character, but it's dark and it's borders on psychotic and everything else that goes with it, on how he wants to move his life forward and stuff like that with Jerry and stuff. But King of Comedy is it's a top 10er, man, in 82. So number 9. Number 8. Yeah, you know, we can't forget about Phoebe coming out, man. It's Fast Times. I think, Brian, you kind of covered it off. We all paused it once, 10 times, whatever, who knows. It's just almost like, it's almost like the Last Picture Show kind of thing, a coming of age, but in 1982 kind of movie kind of thing, just set in a different time zone kind of thing. You know, it really is a kind of coming of age movie for what it is. But the settings, it's a freaking hilarious way to present it. And it's got obviously it's a comedy, and it's spagoli, man. Ordered a pizza. We've been saying that one for 40 years. So Fast Times is number 8. Number 7. It's Gandhi for me too. So Gandhi makes my list. It's historical. It's I liked it more over the years than I first did when it first came out. I thought it was a big bore when it first came out, because it is, let's face it, it's not a fast moving movie. But it's very historical, and you know, as time moves on, even for me, man, Ben Kingsley is one of the better actors I've probably seen in my life, if you want the truth. You know, there's not much crap that this guy does, and he's solid in everything that he's in. And when you go back and rewatch that after seeing him perform in other things, even after, you know, Sexy Beast or whatever you want to, I don't care. House of Sand, I don't care. The guy can act, and go back and look at what he did in this movie. His acting puts it at number 7 almost for me in one sense, outside everything else. The story is the story. It's fantastic. It's very historical. Ben Kingsley's the man in this movie. Hey, it's new. It's different. I still have E.T. making my list at number 6, man. So, yeah, I know it's not Brian's favorite, that's for sure. But it's a kid movie that still kind of sticks in one sense, that still has, a kid could watch it now and have that same feeling I had in 82 when I watched it, I think. And to me, that stands the test of time. I could have it on now and I wouldn't mind it, to be honest with you. So it doesn't have the same feeling to me it does then, but back in 82, man, this was my number 1. If I was growing up at that time, which I was, this would have been my first pick for sure. Spielberg took a leap on doing something different too with this movie. So this wasn't his wheelhouse. This is sci-fi-ish for him, and he's really, you know, he just did Raiders, he did Jaws, he did other things, but this is a real, you know, he did the Close Encounters, but this is a real leap out, man. Aliens on the screen, here you are. And E.T. was adventurous, it's cute, it's funny, it's touching. It pulls at the heartstrings once in a while too, man. So E.T. is still an emotional movie, and it's going to make my top 10. The Poltergeist was a little scarier, and I like that one a little bit better. So that's my number 5. What was the guy's name? Toby Hooper there that directed it. So
Yep.
he just came off Texas Chainsaw Massacre and he directed this. So Poltergeist is scary. It's a horror, scary, freaky movie. You move the headstones, but you forgot to move the bodies. You didn't move the bodies, you know. I mean, Craig T. Nelson is over the top, but as my brother would say, but he's right. But it's just it's almost got elements of the, you know, I think Toby was a name, and you could see, I'm sure, if there was a second director on set, his name was Spielberg. So it definitely has his elements in the movie. Poltergeist is still a classic, easy watch right now. And yeah, clowns and spinning things floating around when doors open, man. Anyone can watch that. Number 4, The Wrath of Khan, man. Yeah, probably my favorite Star Trek flick, man, if I was to get down to it. So it's making number 4 in 82, and it's coming through now. Khan is it's coming through. So yeah, there was the human element in this movie. I mean, everything that Brian touched on there previously, you know, they pulled it from an old episode in the 60s, from Khan in the 60s, and brought it up to modern times in 82 here at least. But what happened to Khan, where he was, City Alpha 5, City Alpha 6, blah, blah, blah. And as it goes from there, Kirk has moved on. It's got the glasses now, all these other things. They've all moved on. And I think they were showing it really good. And I almost wish it went that way. Spock was fine. And even, you know, Back to Earth and number 4 is okay too. Then it just kind of goes sideways for me. And they had to retire it there. And as you may recall in some previous ones, we should be happy as shit we got this movie, because the first one sucked.
Yeah.
And Khan comes out and really saves the franchise if you get right down to it. So
and it ended on a downer.
Ended on a downer, man.
Oh, there you go.
The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few,
or
the one. So off we go. Number 3. So I got Blade Runner at number 3 for me. So everything that Brian said is right. It's a fantastic sci-fi movie. Pace and everything else withstand. You know, if there was a one hindrance, the score, the sets, the acting, and everything else that goes with this movie, man, it's a top-notch sci-fi flick, man. There's no getting around this. Ridley Scott, and really makes some pretty good sci-fi flicks, man. So I think everybody knows Blade Runner, and if you don't, you should see it. But yeah, Blade Runner has the elements of a classic, and it's very high up on my list for that reason. And ranking sci-fi movies, wouldn't be in the realm. I don't think I've had it number 1, but is it going to be in my top 10 of all time? Probably is, when I get right down to it, and where it fits in there. That's still pretty high in my life of 50 plus years on the planet. So Blade Runner is number 3, man. But you can't get around that set, and that score is fantastic as well. So
great.
Number 2, I got The Thing, man. What a remake, man. I mean, the first one. First one's my dad's favorite movie, or one of my dad's favorite movies anyway for sci-fi. But you're gonna do a remake, man. That's the way you do it right here. The Thing is, it's a horror, sci-fi, alien movie set in BF nowhere up north, and it's Kurt Russell. A great cast, man. You know, at the end there, Brian, like you said, the only thing we do know for sure is Wilford Brimley did not carry on with the alien. That's for sure. So Dave Keith and Kurt, you never know. But The Thing's a classic freaking horror sci-fi flick, man. And it's my number 2, man. And that's also in my top 10, obviously, for sci-fi flicks or something. My worst movie. It's Zapped. So I can't get around it.
Very cool.
You're going through your list, Brian. I'm going, oh my God, what are the chances?
That's funny.
Scott Baio with telekinetic powers, man. And that's it. Flicking of the skirt. And the dude from 8 is Enough. That's how we know that movie. And that's it. So
that's it.
I don't want to harp on it. What a piece of crap. This is what you're doing with the telekinetic powers. Give me a break, man. What a piece of garbage. There's some contenders, man. Grease 2 was not getting saved by Michelle Pfeiffer. Beastmaster, the pirate movie. There's some garbage out there, man. But
wow.
Sorry, man. I think I think we got it right here so far. That's my take anyway. I got Zapped in as the piece of crap of 82.
What does that say when we would rather watch Mark Singer talk to ferrets than to watch Scott Baio movies?
Go. Chris Rackin on a boat, man. What does that tell you?
Scott's career was washed up after that. I mean, what did he do? Nothing.
Nothing.
Zero.
So it's gonna, I guess, lead to my number one, I guess, right? So maybe not the shock of all shocks for you guys, but yeah, it's the verdict for me. It's a top 10 movie for me in my life, probably. So I'm a huge Paul Newman fan. One of, if not my favorite actor. So there's, we've talked about it before. There's acting. This is the cream of the crop to me. This is storytelling at its best, and such a real human. There's so much emotion with this character that it's supporting cast, everything else. James Mason, Jack Warden, the judge is an asshole. But he's not getting any breaks anywhere in life. And to your point, Brian, it's the guy just keeps battling through it, and the resilience of this character in this role, played by Newman, is top notch, man. One of my favorites. Verdict's number one for me.
Excellent. I knew it would be high. I didn't think it would be that high, but that's a great pick.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, really? I mean, the only one we disagreed on was I had Sophie's choice.
E.T.
Not bad choices, either one. I mean,
No, they may or may not show up on my list. I can tell you right now that I have 5 movies that neither one of you mentioned.
Wow.
So, but
you got Night Shift? Night Shift made the list?
Nah, it was close, but it didn't make
Zapped.
it. It was vying for that
I
number
like Night
10.
Shift too.
I like Night Shift too. It was in a battle at number 10, but it didn't quite live up to my memory. I could tell you though, I'll tip my hand a little bit. This is the first of the 3 years that we've done where I have not had the Best Picture winner for the on my list. So Gandhi's not on my list.
Okay.
Whereas in 1980, Ordinary People made it, and 81, Chariots of Fire made it. But I just find it so slow, and I haven't revisited it. Maybe I should. I love Ben Kingsley's performance. Obviously, it's world class. But the pacing is just. I found 10 other films I like better for this year.
I think it's funny, Rich, that this is the first year I actually have the Best Picture winner on my list.
I thought about that too. Yep. So we're a little off on maybe in 83 and 84 we'll sync up again.
See how we move along, but yeah, I think you're up to bat, buddy.
Here we go. This could be our quickest video ever. Number 10 for me is 48 Hours.
Yep.
Nick Nolte, Eddie Murphy, buddy film, a comedy. You got the hard, grizzled, tough guy cop played by Nolte, teams up with the wisecracking criminal, Eddie Murphy. And they're trying to hunt down a killer played by James Remar, who's always a good bad guy in these films. And this would be, it's entertaining, it's funny, it's got a lot of action, got a good curse words and one-liners and insults back and forth between the two of them. The chemistry is excellent. And directed by Walter Hill, who I had earlier with The Long Riders, a pretty good director for action flicks. And this would lead to buddy films in the next few years, like Beverly Hills Cop and Lethal Weapon that would follow. So I wanted to put it in my number 10. And it edged out a couple of flicks that you guys had. My number 9 is another kind of a sleeper film that nobody ever talks about these days, and that's My Favorite Year, starring Peter O'Toole.
Peter O'Toole.
Yep, sort of an alcoholic actor who's over the hill. He was a star in his day. It goes back to the early days of TV, and he's got a job on this like a show of shows, a Sid Caesar kind of show. He's playing a character loosely based on Earl Flynn, a variety show, and he's hamming it up. He's swashbuckling. He's drunk all the time. They're trying to reel him in. It's a nice homage to 50s TV. Kind of forgot. Nobody ever talks about it. I never see it on cable anymore. I don't know why. It's a pretty good flick, and I like O'Toole's performance in it. Makes it at number 9. Number 8, Doc had E.T. I have E.T. Spielberg's classic fantasy, sci-fi, adventure, children's film. Very touching about friendship and love and powerful. It's got a lot of heart, which you mentioned. The alien left behind on Earth, and the kid befriends the young boy, Elliot. And it's based on Spielberg's own childhood imaginary friend that he created when his parents were going through divorce. It's hokey, but it pulls you in. It works as a film, and I had to put it on my list at number 8. Number 7, The Year of Living Dangerously. Definitely, that's our first trifecta. Great
Nice.
film, directed by Australian Peter Weir. You got Mel Gibson and Sigourney Weaver. It's got a little bit of everything. It's got the adventure, the romance, the political tension over there in Indonesia. Linda Hunt, you guys both signaled her out, and rightfully so. One of the best performances you'll ever see, especially when you realize that she is playing a man, a dwarf type individual, and she's a woman. She won the Oscar for supporting actress. It's got great cinematography as well. Beautiful film to look at. Political intrigue with the whole coup and whatever they're doing over there. And Mel Gibson plays a journalist, and Sigourney plays a British embassy officer, and they sort of are attracted to each other, and goes from there. A really solid flick. Number 6 is another one of these political films, and that's Missing, starring Jack Lemmon and Sissy Spacek. This time it takes place in Chile. Jack Lemmon's son, he's a businessman from the U.S., and his son goes missing. He's another journalist who goes missing. He's down there. The government won't be any help to him, and they're sort of closing their eyes to whatever happened. So he's on the scene, digging for information, and another political thriller, kind of riveting, heart-wrenching. He finds out the U.S. government may have been involved with the CIA and all kinds of nasty stuff that went on that the media didn't really cover back then as well as they should have. So I put that at number 6. Number 5, The King of Comedy. Martin Scorsese's dark comedy, really about fame and what lengths you'll go to get your 5 or 15 minutes of fame, that type of thing. Robert De Niro, he's so desperate he kidnaps the big talk show host Jerry Lewis, who's like a Johnny Carson figure at the time in the context of the flick. It's disturbing, it's dark, creepy, offbeat, all those things. He's basically a lunatic who lives in the basement of with his mom, and he's got a little talk show couch and stuff set up in the basement of his house, and he's acting all the parts. He's got cardboard statue or cutouts of different people, and hey Liza, all that kind of stuff. He's like, he's insane. The whole limo scene with Sandra Bernhard, she's another wacky character in this film.
Yep.
His sidekick, but a great movie. Number 5. Number 4 is one nobody had, but it's a personal favorite of mine. That's Diner, directed by Barry Levinson. It takes place in the late 50s Baltimore, where Levinson grew up. Group of friends, coming of age, showcases a lot of young talent that would dominate the screens in ways for the next 10, 15 years. People like Steve Guttenberg, Mickey Rourke, Kevin Bacon, Paul Reiser, Daniel Stern, Ellen Barkin. They're all young, and one of their earlier flicks for all of them. Great dialogue, interesting characters. That's a great ensemble piece. So I'm going to give that a nod there at number 4.
Number 4.
3 is Tootsie. I like Tootsie. I always have since the day I saw it. I see a little bit what Brian's saying with some of the supporting characters, but the main story is between Hoffman, Lang, a little bit of Terry Garr with the girlfriend who's being betrayed by Dustin a little bit, running around and wearing women's clothing, and she's kind of a ditzy friend. Bill Murray's hilarious in it. Dabney Coleman is like the ultimate macho bastard in it.
Sidney Pollack's great in it.
Sidney Pollack
good too.
is such a good actor.
So
But
nobody
direct-
wants to watch two people who move to next door to a chemical plant. If they wanted to do that, they'd move to fucking New Jersey.
I love Sidney Pollack and everything I've ever seen him in.
Yeah.
As an actor. He's great in Eyes Wide Shut too.
Yep.
And I can't think of the other one, but there's 3 movies he really stands out, and Charles Durning's good too, as the guy who thinks that he's buying into the whole Dorothy Michaels thing, and
Dorothy
Gives her-
Michaels.
he proposes to her, and it's just a screwball comedy. Dustin is so down on his luck. He's unhireable because he's difficult with directors, and this is his way of getting in the business. He dresses up as a woman, gets hired as a soap opera, and he has huge success. He's got to keep changing from woman to man and this and that. It's well written, well directed, funny. I like Dustin's performance. So that's going to be my number 3. Number 2 is The Verdict, directed by Sidney Lumet. Paul Newman made arguably one of his best performances, if not the best. I like everything about it. He starts out just, the drunk, the alcoholic. This is his last chance at a payday. He's actually singled out as, somebody will take the check and won't even go to trial, but things have a way of twisting around, and the judge is uncooperative. He's sort of in the pocket of the James Mason character a little bit. The Catholic Church is involved. Of course, it's a malpractice suit in the Catholic hospital, and they have an A team of lawyers. They have like 35 lawyers in the board meeting, and James Mason's laying out all the strategy, and it's just Paul Newman and Jack Warden on the other side. And the Charlotte Rampling character is an interesting character too, who sort of wanders into the bar, and there's a romance involved and kind of a twist there.
Oh yeah.
The Verdict's a great movie. My worst film is one a lot of people haven't seen, but it was one of these ones that was campaigned heavily for the lead actress to get a Golden Globe, and it actually won. It's called Butterfly, starring Pia Zadora. Pia Zadora is a nobody actress.
She is Adora.
Pia Zadora. She's like a little nymphette kind of girl, no acting experience at all. Her husband threw all this money at the Golden Globes, and she won the Golden Globe Award, which tells you they're full of shit. And she was never heard from again. The movie's about incest, and it's got Stacy Keach in it and Orson Welles, 2 big name actors, but it's complete garbage, swill, bottom of the barrel shit. So you don't ever want to seek that out. And I think they pulled it from distribution after that. You never see it anymore. Butterfly. My number 1 is Sophie's Choice. Easy pick for me. I know it's dark. I know it's hard hitting, harrowing, whatever adjective you want to use. But Meryl Streep, just a masterwork in acting. The horrific choice she has to make, the flashback scenes to the concentration camp, all the crap she goes through, and the burden she has to live with, and how she has to put her life together under horrific circumstances. It's impossible, actually. Nobody could sustain that kind of blow to their, to their mind and body and soul. And the flashback scenes are intense. They're hard to watch. She hooks up with a guy, Kevin Kline, who's unstable himself and abusive, and just a real difficult watch, but beautifully made and told and acted. It's my number 1 for that year.
Wow. So we did have 2, right? 2 trifectas.
We had The Verdict,
Yeah.
and we
And
had
King, right?
The King
King
of
of Comedy.
Comedy and The Year of Living
We had
Dangerously.
3.
We had 3. Pretty good.
Nice.
Not
I
bad.
left out Gandhi, and I left out, Blade Runner, obviously, and Poltergeist, and what was the other one? The Thing.
The Thing.
And I knew you guys would have those covered, and Star Trek, I left that out too. You guys had all 4 of those films doubled up,
Yeah.
but they're just not
Oh
in.
yeah, me and Brian, we had one different.
Right, you guys were more in sync on this one for sure. But those are just not in my wheelhouse. I went back and watched Blade Runner this past weekend. It's not my top 10. I like Night Shift too, another film.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like
Love
Fast,
Brokers.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High came real close to making my list. I like it. First Blood, I gave some consideration with Stallone. I like that film, believe it or not.
So do I.
And two other ones I want to single out that were in the running, but just don't hold up. An Officer and a Gentleman and The World According to Garth.
You want me to jump in, Brian?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
So we talked about Tootsie already. I had 48 Hours. That just missed 2 for me. I also had First Blood, Night Shift. But I also had Death Trap.
I thought that was going to make somebody's list. Yeah.
Creep Show was in there just as a thing. Missing's a very good movie too, man.
Yeah.
And I really like Jack Lemmon. So
I didn't get a chance to watch that one. I mean,
It's good,
Rich
man.
and I had talked about the fact that I should watch it, but I didn't get a chance to circle back to that one. So I didn't want to, obviously I'm not going to vote for something I haven't seen.
No.
So
you haven't seen, yeah. But Missing's a very good movie, man. And it's another one that's a little different than I had Sophie's Choice written down, but it's just not going to crack my top 10 personal.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe one of my favorite scenes from 48 Hours is when he's like, Jack, can you read me a bedtime story? He's like, go fuck yourself. He goes, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's that kind of dialogue. Good stuff.
I was going to say, even when you did your list, Rich, you brought him out. You said, okay, here's the 48 Hours. And 48 Hours is, like it's Murphy's almost debut-ish kind of thing, right? And here's the buddy cop movies, and there they go. You don't know if Nick Nolte is actually drunk in real life or if he's actually just acting. So that's and you get this, and you get the same with Peter O'Toole in My Favorite Year.
Yeah.
You don't know if he's drunk or if he's acting either.
I think he was
those
drunk.
two guys. Oh
I think
yeah, probably.
They both probably were. Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Any other ones that we might have missed? I don't think so. We covered quite a bit.
No, I think we covered it pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. And the other one that people are going to write down and say we didn't write down. It's not on my list on my top 12, obviously, but somebody might say Rocky 3. I can say that might make
somebody might.
Yeah.
Sure.
That was the one with Mr. T, right? Is that the one?
Mr. T. Well, first you got
Clubber
Thunder
Lang.
Lips with Hulk Hogan, Thunder Lips, the ultimate male versus the ultimate meatball, and then you go on from there. But I mean, it's to me a step down from
I think so too.
1 and 2, that's for sure. But I can see why people still like it.
Oh yeah, it's entertaining, but it's
Sure.
a step down.
Totally.
Cat People's another one that I actually liked at the time, but I don't think it holds up today that well. I remember I was all over Nastasia Kinski back then. I thought she was the hottest thing around. So I went and saw that in the movie theater, and I don't know. It's just not, it wasn't going to make my list. The one I keep kicking myself over is Gandhi because it probably should be on, but that's
yeah, Ben Kingsley's too good not to make my list. That's me.
I can see that. All right, so that wraps up 1982. Thanks again, guys, for joining us. Brian, Massey's Maine Entertainment, Doc. Always a pleasure to get together with these guys. Make sure you leave the lists and in the comments section. Check out our music video as well. That'll be in the description below, the corresponding year, 1982 Perfect album, which will be on Brian's channel. So you can go over and check that out. Maybe you already have by the time you get to my channel. Either way, we'd like you to watch both videos and go back through the time tunnel with us. So for Brian and Doc, it's Rich. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye.